Hi everybody, good morning. It's 7:39 a.m. and I am sketching some figure drawings in my car. Hope you've tuned into my other videos, because this video I'm starting after the measuring process. But to give you an idea of what I did, I basically took some broad measurements to start. So basically the whole head. So from the top of the head to his chin, from the top of the head to his chin, some width measurements on the face, and then within, from eye to eye, the nose, again comparing it to the drawing, and then the jawline from jaw to jaw, from the back of the jaw to the front of the chin, and just would put tiny little marks, where these measurements were. So what you end up with is basically a cartoon, which is kind of interesting because back in the day when Michelangelo and those great guys were doing frescoes, I believe they called the line drawing a cartoon. So it does kind of have that look, and there's not a lot of skill involved here. It's really just about checking your measurements from here to here to here to here. It's sort of the math portion of the program. So now that we're done with that, I am going to begin shading the drawing and kind of talking through just a little bit about what I'm thinking. So I'm going to try something a little different and really focus in on the darkest areas of the drawing first. I do that when I'm painting, and you can see my painting step by step on my Artwork by Mary Facebook page. I hope you go and check it out. But I think when you're painting, certainly it's really important to do that, to start with your darkest values so that you can quickly get a feel for how light and how dark everything else has to be. And if you don't do it that way, you're working a little bit blind. So throwing these in pretty quickly. I'm doing some broad lines here. I'm not being so careful about following this Da Vinci drawing when I'm throwing in the shading. I think the main thing is to get the gist of it and to get the dark areas versus the light areas. So this whole part of the jaw I'm just shading in just to kick it back. And sorry, the camera's shaking. I'll keep an eye on that. And under here, under the chin, and under the chin here. And under here it gets quite dark, so I'm throwing those in. You can see already how quickly this, gives the drawing some form. Starts to look a little more three-dimensional. It's funny, I used to hate to do the measuring part. I used to think of it as the dinner and the shading was the dessert, and I happen to love dessert. So, but now I've grown to actually enjoy the measuring part. Instead of using my fingers like this, what I used to do, and I used to find it not very accurate, I love using this tool because it's super easy to use and it stays put, so you can really get your measurement from paper to drawing really quickly, and you're not struggling with it, and you're not trying to guess, was that from the tip of my finger or from my nail or from whatever. It's very easy to capture the correct measurement. So we're going to go really dark here. And I'm just using a crosshatch. I think for this drawing it's appropriate. And again, it's a Leonardo da Vinci drawing. I love his drawings more than I love his paintings. He's a genius. Just an amazing artist. I think the exercise of copying master drawings is absolutely the best way to learn the shorthand of taking a three-dimensional object like a face or a figure and learning how the masters flattened that out and did it in 2D form. What are the tricks they use to kick things forward and back? I feel like the lighting in here could use a little help. Interested to hear what you like about these videos and what you'd like me to improve. Since I'm sketching in my car, there's not too much I can do about the quality of the footage. Sort of is what it is, but it's the only way I've found to make time to sketch many times a week as opposed to just on the weekends. So I'm kind of sacrificing the video quality a little bit. It's also a little bit awkward too. I'm having to look around my camera and sort of peeking around the side of it. So I hope it's worth it for you all to get, you know, just some step-by-step views of how this is done. And obviously this is just my method of copying a figure drawing. I'm sure there are many other ways to go about it, but I found that this method really works. I used to struggle a lot with just dying to get to the meat and the potatoes of the drawing before I had the measurements right, and I've just learned that if you take that extra half hour in the beginning to grab the key points, the key measurements, you won't end up with a beautifully shaded drawing that's incorrect or awkward and that you stare at every time you go to take a look at it and go, I wish I had taken the time to change that. Let me actually throw my glasses on. Since I'm working a little bit far from my subject, I'm kind of struggling to see a little bit. Oh, that's better. Okay, here we go. Should have done that first. This guy has an awesome nose. You know, when you start drawing faces, you end up loving interesting faces as opposed to the perfectly symmetrical Hollywood type faces. Although I have been thinking I might try to do some celebrity drawings just for fun. I definitely think those drawings are, you know, those faces are not nearly, they don't have the character that a face like this has. So now that I have my glasses on, I'm also trying to pay attention to which direction Leonardo worked his line work, because that can be a real character of the drawing, is figuring out, does it follow the contour, meaning does it follow along a certain shape of the portion that you're drawing, or is it a little more arbitrary? And the masters definitely used both methods. My apologies for being a little bit off the screen here. Let's see if I can tweak this a little bit. I seem to have it set up and then I bump it and I have to go at it again, hoping y'all can see the actual drawing over here I'm copying. I mainly want to keep my drawing in the scene, since that's where the action is. So I'm really going to try to pull this forward. some beautiful curved lines here that I'm going to indicate. And you notice that his eye area, the whole eye area, is got a little shade to it. And it takes some courage to do that, because you feel like, oh, I don't want to go over my line work and lose my eye. But if you don't, it's going to keep that cartoon quality, which is okay at the measuring stage, unless that's what you're going for. I love watching cartoonists online, and people who draw great line drawings, great figure drawings that draw in a slightly different way than I typically do. There's a guy named Proko, Proko. I can't recommend his videos enough, and boy does he put my production quality to shame, because I have none, and he has amazing production quality with his videos. But if you really want to learn the basics of, more than the basics actually, of figure drawing, he's really your guy. So check him out. I don't know him, not a paid endorsement. I'd love to know him. I'd love to sketch with him or paint with him. He's great. I love him, and I love James Gurney. He's just such an amazing plein air, on location sketcher. Just such a great artist. I'm gonna kind of throw, I've talked about this before, and actually I've learned this from Proko, that if you draw these haphazard lines that are not so critical, in other words, you don't have to be in exactly the right spot for it to, look good in the drawing. Always better to draw those lines very quickly. I would say, too, another great exercise is just, when you have a moment during your day, practice doing these quick, lines, and then meet them with this cross-hatching, and get used to stopping your pencil where you have to stop it, and it'll save you so much time. When you go into sketching, you'll see I don't erase very much, and it's really just because I put in the time to get the control of the line work. And I'll tell you, if you don't do it often, you lose the control, and then you have to get it back. I hadn't done a lot of drawing for several years. I had gotten into other things. I was writing and painting and whatever, and using less and less drawing. And boy, you have to really reteach yourself. And it's the measuring that you lose, and the coordination. Just like anything else, just like when you go to the gym a lot, you get better control over your workout, or if you're playing a sport, you have to just kind of keep it up. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It's just to remind your brain how to measure with your eye, and how to transfer that onto paper. I noticed that this jowl is super important, really dark. So I'm going to get that in there. I'm going to start to get a little more bold, a little more gutsy. About the darks. So, once again, I don't want to make these videos very long. I feel like, the more concise they are, the more people have the patience to sit through, especially with my horrible production values. Someday when I don't have to work quite as many hours in my day job, I may set up a better system to capture this. Anyway, would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, to my channel. This way I can tell if there's actually people out there looking and enjoying, so that I will do more. Just want to get the real darkness of this mouth before we sign off. I like the little details of the creepy little teeth sticking out. He's a real cool character. I have a lot of step-by-step drawings of this captured as I was getting the measurements, so I'll post those on my Facebook page so you can see the beginning stages. When people take the time to comment, they usually say thanks for posting step-by-step, so I'm going to continue to do that. I see that this area has to really get much darker. Running. It's a little too warm to turn the car off. Just want to get this part here right. Really want to jut this. Forward by comparison. This guy, a real sharp line here, just to make it more dramatically coming forward. I think his expression here with the eyebrow is super important to grab too. This area here as well, and maybe even throw some light shading here just to create a little more form against the white of the paper. Sometimes too I like to where it's bright light, I like to get some line work on the other side. I don't get too picky about this. I like to leave it a little loose. I may clean it up a little bit before I post the final picture on my Artwork by Mary Facebook page, and that's M-A-R-I, Artwork by Mary, if you want to check it out. Thanks very much for joining, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for checking it out. See you next time.